In this video, let's take a look at solving systems by substitution. There's some steps to solving systems by substitution, but they're going to make more sense when we look at some examples. For step one, we want to make sure we solve one equation for one variable. Either x or y is fine. Then you take that value and substitute into the other equation using parentheses. And that helps you to solve for either x or y, because the way they are when they're given to you, you can't solve for both at the same time. So you've got to get one by itself first. Then once you get the one value for your variable, you have to substitute that back in to get the other one. So notice there's a lot of substituting in the method we call substitution. So let's start with some examples to put these into more perspective. So number one, we have y equals -5. And then we're given 3x plus 4y equals -17. So I can already see that they gave me y is equal to -5. So I can take that and plug it into the other equation, and that'll help me to solve for x, because then I don't have two variables. I'll only have that one variable to deal with. So if y equals -5, I need to substitute it in place of y in the other equation. And then now I can solve that for x. So I get 3x plus 4 times -5, which is -20, equals -17. I can add 20 to both sides, and I get 3x equals 3. And then I can divide both sides by 3, and I get x is equal to 1. But we always want x and y for a solution to our system. So if I look back at what I started with, they actually already gave me my y value, so I don't have to do extra work this time to get it. So I'm just going to put those two together and say my solution is 1 point, and it's at 1, -5. We always want to put the x and then the y. So let's look at another one. Number 2 gives us y equals -3x. And then in the second equation, we have x plus 2y equals -25. So let's take what they gave us for y and plug that into the other equation. So I'm going to write x plus 2 times y equals -3x. So instead of y, I'm going to put what it's equal to, which is -3x. And then that's all equal to -25. So now I have everything in terms of x. And so I'm able to solve for x. And then I'll come back and figure out the y in just a minute. So I have x, and I have 2 times -3x will be -6x. And it's all equal to -25. So x is like 1x, minus 5x is -5x. And that's equal to -25. Then I can divide both sides by -5, and I get x equals +5. So I've got x equals 5. That's the first part of my solution. I just need to figure out the y. So I just have a little bit of work to do. I've got to take the x equals 5 and go back up here, and it would be easiest to plug it into the first equation, because y equals -3x would be easier to figure out what y is than the second equation. So y equals -3 times 5, which will be y equals -15. So then I have the other part of my solution. So I'm going to add, this was just 1 point for this solution, and this one had 1 point for the solution. Because remember, we always have 3 options. We can have 1, we can have none, or we can have infinitely many. So these both turned out to be 1 solution. Let's look at just a few more in this video. So we have 6x minus 2y equals -4. And then we have y equals x minus 4. So what I'm going to do is take y equals x minus 4, and I'm going to substitute that for the y in the first equation. So let's write 6x minus 2 times x minus 4 equals -4. So I substituted or replaced the y with what it was equal to. And so then let's simplify by distributing the -2. So I get 6x minus 2x, because -2 times x is just minus 2x. And then -2 times -4 will give me 8. And then all of that is still equal to -4. So then let's combine these terms that are like terms. So 6x minus 2x is 4x. And then 4x plus 8 is equal to -4. So next I want to move the 8, and it's positive 8. So let's subtract 8 and bring down 4x is equal to negative 12. And then divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals negative 3. So then we can take that x equals negative 3 and plug it back in, and we can see that this one's already got y by itself. So it would help us to get y quickly if we just plug in the fact that we know x is equal to negative 3. So it'll be negative 3 minus 4. So y is just equal to negative 7. So let's put it together. We have x is negative 3 and y is negative 7. So once again, we ended up with a solution that had 1 point. So these are intersecting lines. We can tell because they just have one solution. Let's look at one more. We have, for number 4, x is equal to 2y minus 3 and x is equal to 3y minus 4. So when this happens, you can actually say if they give you x and they give you x, you can set 2y minus 3 is equal to 3y minus 4. So they're equal to each other. If x equals 2y minus 3, but x also equals 3y minus 4, then they're equal to each other. And then we can solve for y. So let's move the one that's smaller. So 2y is smaller than 3y. So let's subtract 2y, and we bring down negative 3 equals y minus 4. And we want to get y by itself, so let's add the 4. And we get y is just equal to 1. So then it would not matter which one you plug that back into. You can just pick which one you think looks easier. So I'm just going to pick this first one up here and say x equals 2 times 1 minus 3. And so that will be 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. And so my solution would be x is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to positive 1. Again, we just have 1 point, and these would be intersecting lines. And we have an x and we have our y. That's our solution. So that's it for substitution.